Hey, welcome back to another session. This is stream number 16, and on the last stream, I demonstrated the integration of the Invector third-person controller along with Morph 3D's male character through their MCS system. And after integration of that, I know I had a lower frame rate than anticipated before integration, but after the integration of those two items, the playable frame rate dropped down quite a bit. It was down to about 20 frames a second off stream, and when I was streaming this through YouTube, as I demonstrated, it was like 8 frames. And let's just run that real quick here to see if that still holds true. Yeah, you see it's standing still. Well, it's fluctuating 16 to 18, 20. As we move around, let's see. Yeah, see it jumps. It does a low jump or spike, low spike down to 6. But it's real choppy. It's like, it's bad. So anyways, I was trying to think what could be causing that. I mean, we don't really have any trees here that's rendering. Try to fool around with some of the rendering distances to see if that actually makes a difference. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But so anyways, I started looking at the terrain settings. I did suspect that there were a cluster of trees, and since we're rendering a lot of those in the background, that could be the issue with all the trees that are rendered throughout the scene in the 3D world. So I looked at the terrain inspector here, and under tree and detail objects, there's this option called draw, where I can click that off, and if you see, completely removes all the tree and detail objects, which are like the grass that's added and all that. So let's go ahead and run that right now and see what kind of improvement we get there. When I did it off stream just a little while ago, I seem to be getting a fairly strong frame rate, like 50. Yeah, see, it's I was getting, well, somewhere between 54 to 60, up to 60. So looks like I'm not losing too much, only about 6 to 8 frames while streaming. So you can see just by turning that off, and even, let me see, moving around, it may spike down. I saw a low of 34. But that's obviously part of the issue. A big part of the issue is a number of trees and foliage and things like that. So and maybe it's not so much how much I have, has to do with the render distance. The fact that they are being rendered in every frame. Now, if I can control that, where we can, maybe block some of that out after a certain distance, because you can't really see it anyways, and maybe just render it in when we get closer. I'll have to fool around with those distances and see what winds up being the best mix there for that. So I just wanted to share with you the impact that the terrain editor, the trees and foliage and details, things like that, how it affected the frame rate here. So I may leave it off for a little while until I figure that out, just so we get a better frame rate. It also gave me a good way to look at the terrain. I didn't realize there's some areas that are really steep, and I'd like to make it a little bit more of a rolling hills type terrain instead of having such steep inclines. Even though this third-party controller from Invector, he can climb some pretty steep hills, as you can see. I mean, he's climbing that with no problem, which is great. But I just want to smooth those out a little bit and change some of that. If I'm going to have an edge that's like that, it's going to be a direct drop, almost like that edge over there, and make it more of a rocky edge where you're not going to be able to climb that at all. There actually is a way to adjust the slope, but I do like the fact that, especially during testing and all that, I can really move around any part of the terrain. No fall damage. Look at that. Let's see if he can climb this. Wow, look at that. He is amazing. He's better than a rock climber. He should be in the Olympics next time it rolls around. Look at this guy. Yeah, he's climbing, man. He's not giving up. His stamina's 100. Look at 60 frames. I'm pegging out at 60. So definitely, the grass and trees had to do with part of the issue here. Every once in a while, I'll see like an invisible. You'll see it right there. There's like an invisible hill that he tends to hop over. I need to go through the terrain editor and smooth some things out. There may be some things that are going on, like right there. Yeah, there we go. He's on some kind of invisible podium. So that has to do with the terrain. And then maybe the built-in tool has some flaws like that in it. I don't know. I'll need to look at the wire frame on that and readjust that. Again, this may be another issue where, you know, those are the anomalies you get with a free tool. I mean, they give you something to work with, but ultimately Gaia is a tool I've seen that does some really nice terrains and worlds. So there may be something I'll switch to. But yeah, I've got some work to do on the landscape anyway, so this is perfect. It lets me look at it, and I can repaint some surfaces and get this looking the way I want it. So I think that's the next thing I'll do is start going through this and ironing out this you know, this landscape a little better. And then I'd like to remove the trees altogether and just start putting them in as I work on areas. We'll build up each area uniquely in its own way, and including putting structures and things in it. So, you know, I'd like to put some kind of road system through here. I don't know if it's going to be anything like actual paved road. It'll probably be like a dirt road, something more set back in the times before we had automobiles. So, you know, I'm probably not going to have anything like that. I may look at adding a horse and buggy later as transportation, or maybe a horse that you can ride. But I don't think I'm going to have any automobiles in here. It's not going to be anything from our current future. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I just wanted to share the frame rate increase just by removing that terrain, and that definitely was an issue. And like I said, I just when I initially did this, if you watch one of the early streams, I made mention that I can actually show you again because it has been a while. But in the terrain editor here, actually we go to the trees. Let's see, was it plant trees? Click to plant trees. No, maybe it was in. Yeah, it must have been on the configure option. There was an option. I actually don't see it right now, but there was an option you could click on, and it would actually just generate throughout the entire map. It would just generate you know, trees all over the place, just randomly. And I think it defaults like 10,000 trees or whatever, and I did that like twice. And so it really put a bunch all over, including, let's hit the Y here and zoom up. There was some that were all through this area. This is the water area where you see the sand on the outside. They were like all over through here, so I had to go and clean all that up initially. Let's just show you let's turn the draw the trees. Let's turn that option back on. So you can see it's pretty much on the island, but there's still a cluster. You can even tell from here. You can tell the way it just clustered all through here. But one thing I was looking at, this tree distance, I just noticed this. The distance from the camera beyond which trees will be called. So, what's this detail density? Number of detailed grass objects in a given unit of area. The value can be set lower to reduce rendering overhead. So it's at the lowest setting right now. Well, actually it's not. Maybe it's a fractional. I see. Okay, billboard objects are like your cardboard cutout. They call it they're like two-dimensional representations. Fade length, max mesh trees. As solid 3D meshes beyond this limit, trees will be replaced with billboards. Yeah, so 50. Just out of curiosity, let's drop that down halfway to 1,000. It may still be too far, but yeah, we're still getting like low. 12 to 18 frames. Just drop that down to, let's say, 300. That's no better. Just, I think the number of trees for some reason. A lot of objects to render. And you can see there's actually, to me, it's too much foliage there anyways. Too many trees in that whole cluster there. Yeah, it's having to render it. Or maybe, again, some parameters I can play around with to optimize this. Yeah, so anyways, I'll, like I said, I'm going to iron this out. I'll work on this, but I did want to show that. The other thing I started working on, I'll just briefly mention this, but this is really what's going to be the main thing we're working on in the next stream here. Go to our player. Player manager, UI player manager. Let's edit this script. Hopefully it won't take too long to load. Normally I have Visual Studio already open. I started adding some like player stats, more or less. Health, stamina, a rank, an experience level, and the monetary system in this would be just gold that can be collected. So yeah, so you can see this file here. It's player manager I added. Just kind of fleshed out a basic stats here: health, stamina, player rank, experience, players dead or not. I mean, it's just a Boolean flag that can be set when the player runs out of health. You know, he's obviously dead at that point. So you'll have to respawn at some point, some safe zone, but we'll work all that out. Once we build this map out, we'll have to have some safe zones incorporated where the player respawns back to the safe zone. I also need to, yeah, so I wanted to get all that built in. Got all the properties set here. I've changed some of them because I commented out, you know, I use the auto thing to just save some time of typing this out, but the quick action through Visual Studio, and it automatically does a get and a set method there, so that you can either assign a value to that public variable or retrieve the value. In this case, I only wanted to use this as the health as a way to get the health. I don't really want to have any of these set through the same variable. It's going to be specialized functions that actually I started to write some of these because I knew I would need them, like to add stamina when you pick something up. What I was going to do, instead of having unlimited stamina, which is the way it's running right now, we'll have some kind of stamina bar that as you're sprinting, you'll use that stamina up. And rather than it auto recharge over time, which is what a lot of games do, they tend to, auto get that stamina back over time. Your character will rest and you'll get that back. But I think what we're going to do here, we may change it up later, but for now, the idea is, since I have this little limited inventory of items we're going to be playing around with, the bottled water is going to represent, like an energy drink, a recharge. And so when you pick up one of those and drink it, it'll recharge your stamina so much. I think we set that at a 50% increase on the stamina. So as you collect those, you'll have to carry, if you want to go across the map, you'll have to carry a stack of those on you and use them and put them in the quick slots and use them as needed to recharge that stamina. Otherwise, you're just at a jogging pace if you run out of the stamina, the energy bottles. And so anyways, I set up these basic functions like the add stamina, which will be used like when you drink one. This function will be called, it's a public. I'm sorry, use stamina will be used for that. Add stamina will be, when you drink, it'll add whatever the stamina amount is that we pass in. So it's set in a way that we can still define how much stamina is added. And of course, if it increases the stamina amount over 100 being our max, it'll reset that. It'll always cap it at 100. You can never go more than 100. Let's see. So use stamina will be as the sprint button is held, which is the shift key right now. That code is going to be modified. I probably won't want to go. I probably won't go directly into the Invector code because I really don't want to mess with their code. I did have to go in there to, for our inventory so that we can take control of the mouse and block that. But other than that, we can also capture those same keystrokes in our own script, and it will, it'll detect that, and so we can respond to a keystroke as well, even though it's being used like the shift as a sprint within the third-person controller from Invector. We can also have our own script that's capturing that same key, and Unity will make sure that all scripts that are capturing that, they have a handler set up for that, basically some code. We'll run that script or that code. So we'll do that in our own scripts so that, later on if we change out the Invector and go with something different for a controller, third-party controller, we don't have a lot of changes to make in the code that we drop in. That's the main reason I want to separate it. I don't want to, really customize their code, and then, if something happened, especially if maybe even if I had to reload the re-import the third-party controller, I wouldn't want to have to go back and modify a bunch of their code again. And so we're going to keep it separate. So anyways, so we'll have this as the shift button is held. It'll pass in and call this every frame, and it'll probably be over a period of time. It'll be called every frame, but there'll be a check where it'll use so much. Probably not like, since it's an int, 1 is going to be the minimum amount that can be passed that will actually reduce it. So if we pass in 1 every frame and you're getting 60 frames a second, you'd eat up your stamina in basically 2 seconds. Because that's 120 frames potentially that could pass in 2 seconds. So instead, we're going to use some of the Unity functions they have based on time. And, so if we're going to have it after a certain amount of time passes, they have a delta time variable you can check since the last time an action happens, or each frame, and so we'll look at that. We'll do something like we did with using time.time and setting some value. I'm thinking we probably only want to reduce the stamina 1 point per second. Seems fairly reasonable, which means you could run, like 100 seconds. If you had it on all full steam, 100 seconds before your stamina runs out. I think that's fair for the size of the map. That's just an initial thought on that. And again, it'll be set up where we can play around with some numbers and readjust that if we need to. If we need to, make it every 2 seconds, or maybe even, make it faster, maybe every half second. We'll play around with that, but I'm looking at 1 point of stamina per second, and I'm almost now thinking that I might want to change these to, instead of ints that are being passed in, these variables, make them floats so that we can deal with fractional amounts and portions. But I don't know. I guess for now I'll keep it simple. That's always the goal, is to keep everything simple. Yeah, so I also have 2 functions for heal. When we take one of our med kits, it'll pass in whatever we have set up for the med kit, the action value. That's the variable that's actually going to be passed in here. That's set up on that item. It'll pass that in as the heal amount. It'll increase our health by that amount. So, and there's also this take damage. So we can take so many points of damage, and it'll subtract it from our damage. And of course, it's doing a check on both. This one, if health goes over 100, it's going to cap it at 100. Damage goes less than 0, it'll set it to 0. And we'll also set our player dead equal to true. That's, that's what the Boolean flag say the player's dead, and we would play the dead animation or whatever, and maybe respawn. Or we'll work all that out. But I'm starting to build kind of the functionality for that in the framework, and some more stats on the player, similar to what we did with the inventory. We had certain information. This is going to be simple because we only have a single character right now. It's our male character. We don't have a choice for the user to pick what they want to use, and so it's going to be simple. We don't have to track all that and load different players. But that would be something I would entertain. If I like the way this works with the Invector and the Morph system, Morph 3D actually has the ability to take the current character and morph him into different beings through the software component they have. Let's get back to Unity. And I think there's I haven't really looked at it, but I know I saw on their website. It reminds me I need to bring in, I've got some binos I need to add as another item in our master inventory so we can start picking up binos. But yeah, the Morph 3D prefabs. That folder is empty. Let's see, resources, scripts. Yeah, I'm gonna have to research this. I really just dropped in. I really don't know how to use it yet. They do include a way, according to the website, you can morph and generate various characters, and maybe that's a feature you get when you actually buy the the paid version. I downloaded what they call the free light MCS male. They actually have a female character too that's already been morphed and generated, so maybe that's what it is. You use their tools. That's what you're paying for, is the ability to morph and create your own characters and hairstyles and different things. But what I have right now is just a character that was generated, I guess, out of the morph system, and it's free. And so I might get that later on. Maybe we'll get the free female one just to work out a system that would allow us, when we drop in different models, where give the user a choice, female or male character in this. But yeah, we got a lot going on here, a lot to work on. So we kind of have an idea of what's causing our frame issues. Initially, I thought it was, throwing in the Invector and the morph stuff was really causing the frame issues, but really not. I mean, it's just maybe in a combination of the three, along with the terrain system. But obviously we can see the trees and detail objects were the main reason we had low frame rate. So, like I said, I'm going to go back and just turn off the draw option, and matter of fact, I'll probably work on eliminating those trees altogether. There's a quick and easy way we can do that, and I'll show you how I'm actually going to be doing it. I don't want to sit here, but under the tree section, well, first of all, let's go to paint details here. Now, the only area that I have grass in right now is right here on this platform. That's right here. Let's zoom in here. If we zoom in, I don't know if it'll show up. Probably don't show up in this top-down view. It gets rendered in real time, the actual detail stuff. You don't see that. The trees you do see, but not that. But anyways, there is, in this open patch here, there's some grass here. So it says here, if we select the grass, hold Shift and click to erase details. Hold Control and click to erase only details of the selected type. So we're going to do the other one. We're going to hold Shift and click to erase. So hold down Shift. Oh, we can change the size of that. Let's see if we can increase our brush size to the max. It's 100. Okay. So I'm going to hold Shift. And then click. Now hopefully that's getting, I'm holding click. I'm clicking as I run this over here. It should clear this whole area out. Alright, so now let's hit play and let's run our character up that way and see if the grass is gone. You gotta trust me that it was there. And it should be that plateau up there. That's what we need to get up to. Yeah, even at 10 frames a second, it's difficult for me to maneuver because there's some lag, Oh, since we got Spider-Man here that climbed a wall, let's see if we can go right up here. Yep. It makes it easy to get up there. I'm going to leave it out. I mean, I'm not going to fool with taking that ability away initially. Obviously, we want him to climb a steep wall like that. Use some climbing gear maybe. A grappling hook or something. Oops, our grass is still there. Okay, so you see the grass is there. Let's see if it wiped out any of it. Maybe I need to zoom in where I can see it. Yeah, you see all the grass is here. I mean, it looks good. I like the grass, but the grass is too high. And oh wait, maybe it did clear out over there. This is more by these trees here. Yeah, because there was grass, I believe. I thought it was all in that area. I may have been wrong. Maybe it was in the front area. I thought it was over there, and I may have just went over the wrong area. Let me, yeah, so let's see if we can zoom in here, first of all. So that we can see where this grass might be. We're saying it should be because we ran up over through here. It should be over here, right in the opening. Let's pull that. Whoops. Let's drag this up here, and then we'll get a better view on our scene. Yeah, there's our grass. So yeah, we can see it now. And so we should be able to go to details here. Hold down shift. Boom, there we go. See, it took away. I may have had to just be where it was being rendered in so it could see it. So it was a big enough area that now it took care of that grass. And so we're going to do something similar to, let's go to Y. With all these trees. Yeah, I'm just going to plant them as I need to. There's apparently a way. You click here, paint trees, click to paint trees. So I could, let's go to X here. Well, anyways, you can paint trees in as simple as let's zoom in a little bit. Let's get over here. Okay, so we have this opening here. We can go here. We only have one tree type, and the other thing I need to readjust is the painting of the tree, the actual, let's see, where is it? It was on this. I just changed it a little while ago. It was the size. I went up to like 100. Must have been on here. Brush size. Yeah, that's what it was. There should be one. I guess it uses the same brush size that's under the detail. So, I want to reduce that down to maybe, let's see what a 2 is. Or 8. So that's about an 8, a patch of 8. But anyways, that'll give us an idea. So when we come over here, well, no, it's still showing a huge. But anyways, you click there. You're supposed to be able to click the paint trees, hold shift to click to erase trees. Oh, there we go. I got to click on that and our brush size. Duh, I didn't click on the tree. So yeah, obviously you can have different trees. It needs to know which one. Okay, so now we have a smaller one. So now if we just click here, see how it adds a tree. So you have more control doing it that way, a single tree. And the tree height is set to random. There's some settings apparently we can work with. Tree light map static. Obviously static light maps would also increase frame rate because it doesn't have to be dynamically created at runtime. So so if you have a scene where I guess if your lighting isn't changing really, like sunlight's coming from the same direction, we don't have a full day-night cycle, that kind of stuff. I mean, we could bake some of that in and have static lighting. But anyways, so yeah, what I plan to do is kind of go through the stuff and remove. I'm gonna hold down shift and remove some of these trees out of here, and just remove it all because they're clustered up too much. And I'll just kind of drop in as needed. I'll probably get buildings and structures in, start looking at some, um, something we could drop in to build an actual area first, because I really want to work on one area and put in some realistic spawn locations, and add some additional items that can be picked up, and all that. So a couple new ones. I mean, there's some packs out there, but the main things we need to get an area started. And this platform up here is a pretty good size, although the other one was a good size as well. But we'll have to remove our one single building there and look at, we might even actually increase the height of the ceiling. That's what I'd like to do, actually. Or I was even thinking maybe remove the rooftop. When you go inside the building, the rooftop kind of disappears just because of the way the camera system works with the Invector. You can't really see if you're trying to look down at an item. And I could get in there and fool with their camera system and modify that, but like I said, I don't really want to get in and modify their stuff if I don't need to. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing is cleaning up so we can get an improved frame rate on this map when trees are turned on. And we'll just add these the terrain and tree items as needed. I also need to work with the grass. By default, it was up to, it looked like the player's shoulder height. It was, too high. So I'll work on playing around with that, getting a grass height that seems realistic. Maybe no higher than the knees, you know what I mean? Something if you're going through a field. Maybe the waist if you're going through like a field of grass or something. But we'll work on that. We don't necessarily need grass right now and all that. We're looking at playability, building functionality, and we could spend months, probably weeks and months, just designing the environment, which we probably will when we get into it. It's going to equate to that, a lot of time. But we still have a lot of functionality that needs to be built in. That's what I'll be focusing on. So anyways, thanks for stopping out. Again, this will be, I think I went a little longer than I wanted to. I really just wanted to show the frame rate increase by removing the trees and the details. And it definitely jumped up to something playable. So I want to get this, ironed out, and so we can move forward. Anyways, thanks for stopping out. Again, if you have any questions, comments, please post them on the video as a comment, and definitely subscribe if you want to know when I come back online again and go live. The next thing we'll be working on, like I said, we'll get an area, mock-up area built, but we'll be working on the player stats, basically the health, stamina, rank, XP, gold. Make sure we can implement any of those. Hadn't quite decided how the gold thing will work. It may be that I almost want to have that, some of it could be discovery, having hidden treasure chests, or just you go through an area and maybe treasure chests would spawn with a random amount of gold, but also, you can get, like I said, like to build a small in-game, a very simple in-game market system where items you find, since we have right now there's no global inventory where you can stash items, you're going to keep. I'd like to set this up where you can sell some of the items you find that you don't need. You can go and sell them in a market in exchange for some gold, and then you can use that gold then to purchase other items that you do need. So I've got to work on a persistent solution here, and with this tying back to C# and all that, I mean, there's a SQL database in the back end could easily be tied into this. I was kind of wondering about that, when I first jumped into Unity, how persistent storage would work in this, but with it scripting like that with C#, as long as they don't restrict anything, on the C# side, then I do know that it's C#4, I believe. It's not really the latest C#6 or whatever the current version is, 7. C#4, but I mean, beyond 4, they're just adding complexity, and there's nothing new to the core language. Like something, there are new features. Don't get me wrong, but um, it's like they're trying to simplify and build this framework of things that, you know, let these up and coming programmers come in and build code fast through, you know, all these cool tools, but you know, they're not learning how to code because they're not doing a lot of the coding themselves. They're reusing a bunch of tools, and at some point you gotta say enough is enough, and just, you know, learn the language and learn the basics and the fundamentals, and write your own methods and functions, and not depend so much on a massive framework for everything. I mean, there's obviously some advantages. You know, I could not be doing what I'm doing right now with Unity if Unity didn't have their gaming platform and framework in place for this. But I guess you use it sparingly. You use what you need to get the job done. But it's, you know, like I said, I've compared some of these, the old version to the new, and with C# and you know, some of the stuff just seems kind of, you know, overkill and convoluted, and it just complicates, you know, just some of the understanding of it. I don't know why, you know, they have all these extra things that when you already have a way to do something, it does not. A lot of times I don't see that, you know, it really benefits, you know, programming too much, and with some of these new ways to do things. And there may be on an enterprise scale, there may be, but I don't know. Everyone has their own viewpoint. Again, I haven't really experimented with a lot of that. I've looked into it, and I've read on it, and I do have several books I've referenced, and I just don't see any advantage to it. There's no performance difference to me either way. Anyway, I'm off the podium. Let's end this session, and like I said, we'll pick up next time with building our player stats, and like I said, I'm going to clean up the world a little bit here, the map, get it smoothed out, remove the trees, and maybe start, you know, building out an area with some spawn locations, so that, you know, something bigger than what we've been using, a single building. I'd like to have a small town in place, so something we can explore a little bit. So I'll be working on that, and it's probably going to be a lot of work. So, you know, that may be part of tomorrow's stream anyway. We'll see what we can find and what we can incorporate, and we'll go from there. All right. Well, y'all have a good night. Thanks for stopping out again. Again, subscribe or post any comments.